Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box. Now, Dark Side of the Moon. There's nothing really to be said about it that hasn't already been said to death. And while we all know it's a great album, and I've even done videos on why I think it is, today I want to talk about something different. I want to talk about something that happened 10 years after its initial release, because it was on this week in 1983 when the album broke the record for the most weeks on Billboard's album charts. Now, why is this interesting? And why is it even surprising? Because we all know that The Dark Side of the Moon is one of the most beloved and most purchased and now most streamed albums of all time. Here's why I think it's interesting. The previous record holder was a very different kind of album. One, it was by Johnny Mathis, someone who was known as a pop vocalist. And pop vocal is generally what you would think of as the genre that is most popular. That when people want to hear music, 9 times out of 10, Joe Public will want to hear a song sung by a relatively or very well known singer. Not so much into instrumental music or jazz or avant garde or experimental music or 4 minutes and 30 seconds of silence in a cage, so to speak. And the other reason that it was surprising is because not only was it a Johnny Mathis record that held that number one album spot, it was a greatest hits compilation. And by definition, a greatest hits compilation is supposed to filter out all of the fluff and all of the, filler and just give you the good stuff. Now, Dark Side of the Moon was none of this. It was a concept album. It was from the outer edges of what the mainstream would tolerate insofar as avant-garde rock. Many call it a progressive rock album, and even those who don't generally agree that there are many progressive elements in the album. And all of those things on paper ought to mean that it wouldn't be so popular. It wouldn't be such a top seller. And that's in fact what the music industry thought, because until they met a sympathetic man whose name was Baskin, Inez Baskin, I think, something like that, do pardon me, at Capitol Records just before the album was released, the record company Capitol in the US just wasn't pushing Pink Floyd at all. They thought, this is obscure stuff for obscure audiences and we'll keep it that way. But he believed in the band, and so they pushed Dark Side of the Moon, and once people heard it, they didn't need to push it no more. Everyone loved it. Now, what does this mean? It means that audiences are far more diverse and diversified in their tastes, in their preferences, than the suits who run the record labels would have you believe. It means that while you would expect a pop singer with a compilation of greatest hits to be number one in this category, the, longest time on the Billboard album charts, it ain't necessarily so. It could be a concept album whose individual tracks make a lot less sense when you listen to them out of sequence, so much so that even Pink Floyd, for most of their lives, ended up playing most of it in sequence. It's just not the kind of thing you would think of as a top seller. But that's the point. The conventional wisdom is wrong. People, when exposed to interesting things, have a much better sense of what is attractive than you might assume. And this is something that Frank Zappa said. He talked about an era in the record company, 50s, early 60s, when the guys running the labels were on the older side, they were smoking cigars, they were members of country clubs, and they didn't know anything about avant-garde or young people music. But he said the attitude at the time was, if the guys in the band have long hair and are a bit weird, put it out there, see how it does. Give them a chance, give them the opportunity. He said by the yuppie era of the sort of early to mid 1980s, those old guys retired and they were replaced by yuppies who thought they knew what the kids want to hear. And they were wrong. And they gave fewer opportunities to people, so much so that by the turn of the millennium, when the older generation was really, really gone, we see how comparatively sterile the music scene got. And Dark Side of the Moon proves it. No one wanted to give it a chance in the record industry. They didn't think that it was something people could relate to. And it turns out that the almost mystifying chords, that the slow and deliberate pace of the album, the lyrics that relate so directly to the human condition, both at an individual and universal level from Roger Waters, they resonate so much with people to this day. And it just goes to show you, you shouldn't second guess audiences. Give them the art. Let the artists have their stage and let the people decide. It's why I'm against all forms of censorship and gatekeeping and this wretched, horrible word deplatforming. Everything and everyone deserves a platform, no matter what they are or what they say or what they believe in. Let the people decide. Sure, there are a lot of stupid people in the world. I might be one of them, but the gatekeepers are always worse. The stupid people are a lot smarter than even the best gatekeeper. And there's some pretty interesting people out there too. Let everyone have their chance to shine on. You Crazy Diamond, wrong album, but there you go. Free show. Like I said, no complaints. That is technically free speech, though. I don't care. Anyway, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care. What's going on there? How do I turn this thing off?